Bismillah wa salatu wa salam Rasulullah wa ba'd. In the name of Allah, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His last and final messenger. As to what follows, family, friends, foes, haters, and hateettes, welcome back to the Feachaz. I greet you all in peace and love and no hatred in my heart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And before we begin, please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit me up on Patreon. Please subscribe to the mirror sites as well. That is the features on library.com. That's lbry.com. And as well as the features, the infamous features on YouTube as well. Barakallahu fikum. So, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Dawood. Now, brothers and sisters, sometimes, when we follow a thing, we follow it because it feels right or it's something that resonates with us. But not everything that feels right is actually correct. Okay, what do you mean, Brother Bilal? For example, when I first became Muslim, I became Muslim at a time when there was not much information about Islam at all. Okay, and if you think about how Islam spread throughout history, this was generally the case. Okay, Islam would spread like the core tenets of Islam, but not necessarily the knowledge of Islam spread with it. Are y'all with me so far? So essentially, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Walid. So essentially, it was the same case with me in my conversion as well. When I became Muslim because I understood that Islam was better than what I was doing at the time, which was Christianity. You understand? Hayakumullah, Brother Walid. May Allah increase it for you and multiply it for you 1,000-fold. And may Allah give you genital for the dose. And me and Brother Walid, a big supporter of the channel. Hayakumullah. Hayakumullah. And may Allah reward you and your family. Ameen. Ameen. So, look, when I became Muslim, because there was not a lot of knowledge at that time, not much Islamic knowledge in terms of books, in terms of Islamic speakers, and these type of things. For a long time, I believed, for example, that Iblis or Lucifer, I called him Lucifer at that time, was a fallen angel. I believed that for a long time. Okay, after I became Muslim, I believed that Lucifer was an angel who used to be an angel, worshiping God in heaven, and because he disobeyed God as an angel, right? Allah sent him down to earth. I believe that. Why? Because I carried over that belief from Christianity. Y'all with me? You understand? So it's the duty of every Muslim that when they are corrected in their belief from the Quran and the Sunnah, that they accept the correct belief and leave off any incorrect understandings that they had before becoming Muslim or whatever it is. It doesn't make a difference even if you're Muslim at the time. Are you on this? You're with me so far, right? But what happens is if knowledge does not reach certain areas, Ya Rab, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Hassan. If knowledge does not reach certain areas, and then your scholarship preaches what they know from that knowledge, and then they preach mistakes, then the people are going to believe what? Are they going to believe the correct thing, or are they going to believe the mistakes? They will naturally absorb the mistakes. And when somebody comes with something from the Quran and the Sunnah and they tell them, this is a mistaken belief, what they now do is that they associate the religion, instead of associating with the Quran, with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they associate it with their sheikhs or the shayukh directly. And now they absorb these incorrect beliefs and they will fight for their incorrect beliefs. So now what we have in this situation is we have a lot of history and hardcore facts surrounding people who have not only fought for their incorrect beliefs, but actually killed Ahlul Sunnah for their incorrect beliefs, tortured them, and excuse me, and caused a lot of division and chaos in the Ummah because they did not want to leave off those customs they became accustomed to from people that they loved who taught them what they thought was correct Islam. Is y'all with me? Even after I became Muslim, I believed that Lucifer was a fallen angel. And when brothers had told me that Lucifer was a jinn, right, it was difficult for me to accept that. It was hard because I had believed this thing my entire life as a Christian. And I'm a Muslim now. And I'm like, well, where's your proof? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It was difficult for me to accept that. It was hard for me to extract that from my belief because I believed it so hard. You understand? And this is what a lot of people go through when you tell them about their incorrect beliefs. Furthermore, we have a culture of when people tell other Muslims about their incorrect beliefs, they do it in such a manner that that Muslim who is receiving the information will never accept it. I liken it to this. Say, for example, you have a favorite food. I want you to think in your heads, whatever it is, your favorite food, your favorite meal in your heads. Okay? And I'm cooking, you're at my house as my guest, and I'm cooking your favorite meal. You understand? And I'm taking my time. I'm doing it exactly the way that you like it. And it's your favorite meal. Y'all hearing me? And after I spend hours in the kitchen, slaving in the kitchen to make your favorite meal from scratch, exactly the way you like it, I come and I present you your meal, okay, your favorite food, on a garbage can lid. Would you eat it? Yes or no? Even if the garbage can lid is clean, would you eat it? Yes or no? If I present to you, exactly, Waleed says no. Of course you won't eat it. Of course you won't eat it. Even if the garbage can lid is clean, even if it's your favorite food and it's smelling good, you won't eat it. This is how us, the Salafiyun or Ahlul Sunnah, sometimes we present the religion of Allah in the same manner. We have something very desirable, something that the people want, but we present it to them like we present it to them on a garbage can lid. Why would they accept that? And that's part of the reason why a lot of people reject the truth. The other part is because of arrogance. If you are not humble enough, the individual receiving the truth, if you're not humble enough to accept the truth and accept that perhaps that you might be wrong and mistaken in your beliefs, then you will never reach the truth. It's impossible. If you look at your children, for example, when you send your children to school, they don't tell the teachers how to teach. They just sit down and learn. Because the teacher has something that the students don't have. Does it mean that the teacher is right or correct 100% of the time? No, it doesn't mean that. But what it means is that the one who doesn't know needs to humble themselves and absorb the knowledge that the teacher is giving. And a Muslim has to have the ability, if you say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, if you actually believe that, you have to have the ability to humble yourself and accept the truth when it comes to you. It's not your job to sift through the attitudes of the people, but your job is rather to accept the Quran and the Sunnah when it comes. That's your job. If somebody is giving you an ayat from the Quran with the correct understanding, or they're giving you a hadith with the correct understanding, your job is to submitna wa ata'na. That's it. So now we are far away from the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in our era, we are living in an age of charlatans and Hotep hustlers and nefarious imams and these type of things. People who are trying to profiteer off of the religiosity of the people. Those who believe in God, and they're trying to manipulate and take advantage of these people. And how do they do it? With eloquent speech and a certain way of dressing, and you know what I mean? Having that look or the veneer of a holy man. And from the playbook of the Sufis is that they always habitually and consistently talk about love. You know, we have to love each other and love human beings and love humanity and love. You understand? And when somebody from Ahlul Sunnah says love is for the sake of Allah and hating is for the sake of Allah, they instantly call us Wahhabis. Well, with somebody with that type of mindset or that frame of mind, right? That you have to love everybody, right? Just love your fellow human being, love your fellow human man, love everybody, love, right? Somebody with that type of mindset, is it far-fetched that they would love their enemy? Yes or no? Is it far-fetched that they would love their enemy? And those of us who are saying, no, we have to hate our enemy as Allah commanded us and love those who are close to Allah as much as possible, they have epithets and insults for us. You understand? So now, just to show you what I'm saying is not cap. I'm not here to have a train wreck against Sufis. No. The reason why I chose this video today, this particular topic today, is because of certain information that kept coming to me all at once because of Sufis. Okay? And you guys know I'm not sectarian. You guys know already, whoever is wrong, I'll give him that work. So for my Sufi brothers, I'm not going into a sectarian rant here, okay? That's not what it is. But I'm telling y'all, as long as you guys are up on this stuff, we will never succeed. And this stuff is not something that's new, but rather it's been going on for centuries. And why? It's because many of you have adopted this wrong type of understanding. And when people are trying to advise you, you can't let go of that belief because you're so attached to it. You can't let go of these beliefs, right? So I'm going to show y'all something. Like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon. And let's get some supers up, inshallah. Now watch now. Okay. Now from my channel, okay, you've seen that sometimes I show some stuff that the Sufis do. I don't say anything. I just let everybody see it. Like, watch this. Right? I don't say a thing, right? Like the Christian Sufi dance battle video and whatnot. You know what I mean? But there's so much stuff out there. Now, this is a Hindu talking. We're going to listen to this Hindu and listen to what he says. Okay?
With the Gnahan mark, the Dvait with the Advait. Is now reconciling various strands of Hinduism in one life. In one life, is able to move from one to the other without any problem at all. Kind of literally, whiz through all the variety of different pathways the Hindus are promoting, variety of different bhakti marks he practices, and immediately attains its conclusion successfully. The story has to continue. You see, this personality has come not only to reconcile the various strands of Hinduism, he has come to reconcile various religions too. Now we come across another personality comes to the Dakshineshwar temple. This person is a Sufi, a Muslim. In that particular temple, Muslims were welcome. They were fed, given separate food, and they were allowed to stay in the guest house there. So an unusual person, a Sufi, arrives on the scene, and Ramakrishna is very astute. In no time, he catches his attention is drawn by this individual because he sees kind of culmination of that particular practice in his life very visibly. So he went to him, a very guileless person. He said, "I want to learn about Islam. I wish to learn about your tradition." The person said, "Sure." Now, this is the rule. These are the rules of Islam. This is what we study. We study the Quran, and we worship. We pray so many times a day. We eat this kind of food. Ramakrishna said, "I'll follow that." Now, whatever he wanted to do, he would achieve very fast. And somehow, in all the different parts of the story, I find that he's able to achieve his target in literally 3 days. Anything he starts, finishes, comes to conclusion within 3 days. So there's a magic number, 3 days. So for 3 days, this Ramakrishna doesn't visit the mother goddess. He gives us the idea of being Hindu completely. He wears a lungi. He's sitting out with the Sufi guy outside, praying so many times a day, eating the Muslim food and everything, and behaving like a Muslim. Couldn't be bothered about Hindu deities. 3 days he spends like that. At the end of 3 days, these are his words. He said, "I had a majestic experience. I saw a person with a long beard appear in front of me. And I don't know who that is. But then immediately my mind went from the idea of God with form into God without form and merged into that. And that experience that I had is no different from the experience I had when I followed the Hindu tradition. In 3 days, I achieved that."
Did y'all hear that? Okay. The only reason why I want to show you that, okay, is because Sufis have a history of worshiping with mushrikeen just like this, not advising them to become Muslim. You can be Hindu, they have a long legacy of that. So much so that even Imran Hussein, this Trinidadian guy, okay, Trinidadian shape, recently said, "Why are Muslims advising Christians to become Muslim? This is wrong. This is incorrect." Sufi. You go to Nizam-ud-Din today, you will find Hindus and Muslims worshiping together in Nizam-ud-Din. That's the headquarters of the Jamaat Tabligh Jamaat. But I'm setting a whatchamacallit. I'm laying the foundation for my argument here, right? We just getting started. If any Sufi think this is cap, let them type or write a comment right now that this is cap. Let them say this is cap. But why am I the one who is pointing this out? And I have yet to find a single Sufi that refutes or rejects this openly. Why is it always us that have to say this stuff? Like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon. If you are one of our Sufi brothers and you think that I am lying and I am making stuff up and I am taking things out of context, put it in the comments now. If you think it's cap. We don't do that. We say exactly what you say. We say exactly what you say. This is what you believe. This is what we say. We don't take it out of context. Brother Hassan Abdullah, he says, Imran Hussein says some weird stuff though from little I've heard. Yeah, my humble opinion, from the first time I heard Imran Hussein, I said he was a charlatan. From the first time, way back in the day, I said this guy is just a storyteller. I don't understand why people are like taking him seriously like that. But he recently said that you shouldn't be trying to convert Christians to Islam or calling Christians to Islam and stuff like that. That's what he said. That's what he said. And he calls anybody who's trying to call Christians. I'm a former Christian. I became Muslim. Alhamdulillah. So in his worldview, me becoming Muslim is a mistake. Okay? In his worldview. I hope somebody can find and put the link here so I can play it, inshallah. Of Imran Hussein saying that. If you guys find the link, put it in, I'll play it for you. Right? But we're building up an argument here. You understand? This didn't just happen overnight. If you look at the Ottomans were always, how you say it, shucking and jiving and tap dancing for Europeans all the time. All the time. And during the decline of the Ottoman Empire, during this time, and I believe it was 1865 or something like that, they had a constitution, right? In this constitution, it was written in this constitution during this time, okay, that Muslims, whenever they saw like a Christian, like a European Christian walking down the street, they would have to cross the road, okay, and as well as they decriminalized homosexuality. The Ottomans did that. Why? For white people, okay? For white people. For Europeans. They did that for them. They were called the sick men of Europe because of their decline. And then they saw these Europeans surpassing them in technology and during the Industrial Revolution and whatnot. And up until this very day, from that time to now, you have Muslims internationally, because of the way that the Ottomans positioned themselves, they have this inferiority complex because of Europeans. Internationally. So much so that when Europeans went to India, well, that time was called India, right? All of that South Asian area, all of it was called India to them. When they would bring in, because when they were setting up their slave plantations in the Caribbean and South America, they were setting up as a racial hierarchy. They would bring the Indians from India, okay, to the West Indies and to South America, places like Guyana and whatnot, and all over the West Indies, Trinidad, whatever. And they were the only people that they would kidnap on boats, if you could call it kidnapping, and they would allow them to keep their religions. Why? Because of their pacified nature towards whiteness. Jazakallah khair, Sister Tika. Allah reward you and may Allah multiply it for you 1,000-fold and give it you genital for those. I mean. So they put these South Asians in charge of black people, right? They will be the managers and whatnot of the plantations and whatnot over the black people. And up until this very day, in parts of the Caribbean, particularly in Guyana and whatnot, there's racial tension between the Indian class and the black class because of this. Because of this. But those Indians, for that part of the world, what were they? They were Sufis. Okay? And even up until this day, they're still Sufis. And even up until this very day, yes, Trinidad too, of course. And even up to this very day, you find those same Muslims intermarrying Hindus. Intermarrying Hindus. Like ain't nothing going on. Very common. Because their racial identity is more important than their religious identity. Y'all hearing me? Is any of this cap? Am I making any of this up? If you think I'm making it up, put it in the chat. Anyways, now we're just setting the foundation for the argument. We know historically that Sufis have always had this type of buck dancing and break dancing for whiteness, okay? All the time. All the time. It's in their literature, in their politics, the way they do things. You understand? So we're just setting the foundation of the argument here, right? Now, we are going to go to listen to Sheikh Uthman Farouk. Like, subscribe, share. Hit me up on Patreon. Let's check out what Sheikh Uthman Farouk has to say about the Mawlid.
Okay, so Sheikh, a question is asked on the Islamic ruling on celebrating the Mawlid and Nabi, like the birthday of Prophet.
الحمد لله الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء خاتم النبيين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. It's a great question. And we see a lot of doubts and shubuhat that have been put around this question. So let's take it in a logical order. Okay? The first thing, anytime you want to know the Islamic ruling on anything, the first place we look is the Quran itself. In the Quran, by the ijma', by the consensus of the Sahaba who explain the Quran, we do not find any narration from any Sahabi that any ayah in the Quran refers to Mawlid al-Nabi. So what does that mean? That there is no proof from the Quran regarding the Mawlid al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not about when he was born exactly, not about celebrating that birth, not in the Quran. Now we go to the ahadith. The second place we look for evidence is the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we do not find any reference to celebrating his birth. And we have to think about this. Why? That means the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal came upon Rasulullah some 63 times in his life, from his birth till his death. He died in Rabi al-Awwal as well. So if any time during that lifetime, before prophethood, after prophethood, in Mecca, in Medina, Rasulullah could have told the Sahaba that this is the date of my birth, celebrate it, throw a party, have an Eid. Rasulullah showed us how to celebrate in Islam. He taught us about Eid al-Adha, he taught us about Eid al-Fitr, he even told us about Jum'ah being the Eid of the week, even though it's not like Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Fitr like once a year, but he explained these days of celebration. But he did not, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, tell us to celebrate on the 12th or the 10th or the 9th of Rabi al-Awwal or even tell us what date he was born. Rather, he told us the day, and we'll talk about that inshallah. Tayyib. So in the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we do not find any proof for celebrating Mawlid al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, who loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam the most? The Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Aisha radiallahu anha, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Hassan, Hussein radiallahu anhum. None of them celebrated the Mawlid. And if this was something good, you would think that Aisha radiallahu anha, or Abu Bakr, or Umar, or Uthman, or Ali, any one of them would have celebrated it radiallahu anhum, but they did not. We do not find a single Sahabi celebrating Mawlid al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Tayyib, who is the best of this ummah? From the ulama of this ummah, the great Imam Abu Hanifa and Malik and Shafi'i and Ahmad, may Allah be pleased with all of these great scholars of Islam, none of them celebrated Mawlid. None of them. We challenge anybody to bring a single one of the four famous A'imma or any of the scholars of the first three generations. The entire Muslim Ummah, in the best generation, the generation of the Sahaba, the Tabi'un, and Taba Tabi'un, did not celebrate al-Mawlid. Imam Tajuddin al-Fiqihani al-Maliki, the famous Maliki scholar, he clearly wrote that we do not find evidence in the Quran or in the Sunnah or in the Salaf of this Ummah for the Mawlid al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So now a question is asked, where did the Mawlid come from? And if we didn't have it in the earlier generations, where did it come from? According to the ijma' of the ulama who researched this issue, they have put that this began in the 6th century, around 500 something Hijri, in the Batini Shi'i Misr. Yani when Misr was being ruled by the Fatimids, the Batini Ismaili Shia, who were called Ubadiyya, they are the ones who initiated this practice. For 600 years almost in the Ummah, this was not known. But these Shia, they are the ones that initiated this. And then it spread in other parts of the Ummah through Sufis and others, but this is where it started. So anybody who celebrates this is not following the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the Sahaba radiallahu anhum or Abu Hanifa or Malik or Shafi or Ahmad or any of these great Imams. They are following something that was initiated by Ismaili, Rafida, those that were from the Batiniya sect, the misguided sect that deviated from Islam.
So that's what I wanted to share with you right now. Okay, so now we're setting up the framework. Okay, the whole point of this is number one. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abu Tawbah. Hayakumullah Sheikh. The whole point is that we understand that the Mawlid itself was not initiated by the Prophet. We have to understand this. However, the ones who celebrate the Mawlid, whether it's the Shia or the Sufis, they are using this as a form of worship, as a way of getting closer to Allah, correct? That's what's important. The important thing is that those people who celebrate the Mawlid, what do they accuse the ones who don't celebrate the Mawlid of? They always say, oh, you don't love the Prophet ﷺ if you don't celebrate the Mawlid. Those who celebrate the Mawlid love the Prophet ﷺ. You don't love the Prophet. You don't love the Prophet. You know, these type of things. You feel me? That's what they say. They accuse us of not loving the Prophet ﷺ. So what we are asking, well, I guess Abu Bakr didn't love the Prophet. I guess Uthman, Omar, Ali, I guess the Tabi'in, they didn't love the Prophet. I guess the four Imams didn't love the Prophet. This is what we're saying. But let's leave that because that's very dogmatic for a second. Right? Let's just leave all of that, right? Let's just say, for example, let's agree that the Mawlid is an act of worship. Let's just agree on that part, that the Mawlid itself is an act of worship. Whether you celebrate it, whether you don't celebrate it, completely different ball game, right? We are going to agree that the Mawlid is an act of worship. Do we agree? Do we agree that the Mawlid is an act of worship? That Muslims are worshiping Allah by celebrating the Mawlid. Do we agree on that? Do we agree? Family, yes or no? Do we agree that there are Muslims who celebrate Milad an-Nabi, the Prophet's birthday, as a means to get closer to Allah? Do we agree? Yes or no? Yes. Rabia says yes. Thank you. So now, are we celebrating with the Muslims or the non-Muslims in the Mawlid? Because we're trying to get closer to Allah. Do we get closer to Allah with Muslims or non-Muslims? This is the only question I got. Do we get closer to Allah with the Muslims or the non-Muslims? Do we worship Allah with Muslims or non-Muslims? Which one is it? Hassan says both. Oh, okay. Look here. Look at here. How does, thank you, Sharif. Thank you, Sharif, Aydurus. It is Muslims who worship Allah to get closer to Allah. A non-Muslim inherently, by default, cannot become closer to Allah until they become Muslim. You understand? So any act of worship that you do to get closer to Allah, it necessitates that you enter Islam first, then you become closer to Allah. All right? Now, we've already set a precedence with the previous video that Sufis have this reputation of worshiping with non-Muslims. It is not something that is new. Rather, it's hundreds of years old. However, they stepped it up. And I'm about to show you what I mean. Like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon. I'm about to show you what I mean. Okay? This was sent to me this morning. Let me share here. Look at this, y'all. Sufi Council of Toronto, Maulid Nabi procession march held on Sunday, October 24th, with thanks to John McKay, liberal, and Mitzi Hunter, and Zakir Atipu, whatever his name is, right? Zakir Patel. What you see here is the Sufi Council of Toronto chasing the biscuit for politics. And what are they doing for this? Maulid. But wait, there's more. I'm not done yet. Look at here. This right here, that's what's his face. What's his name again? John McKay, the liberal. Look at here. This is what they do, y'all. They've been doing this for at least 3-4 centuries anyways. You can't go to any country, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, where the Sufis are not sucking up, and we're not talking about the regular general awam. We're talking about the leadership of the Sufis, where they don't suck up to the leadership of the countries and buck dance and break dance for them. They always do that. They have a long history. Who knows Habib Jeffrey here? Do y'all know who Habib Jeffrey? Probably the biggest, most famous Sufi today, right? I think he's the most famous Sufi today. Do you know that Habib Jeffrey, and it's online, and I hope one of y'all can get me the link so I can play it for people so people can see it's not cap, right? But do you know that Habib Jeffrey, he himself says that you can't believe everything the Uyghurs say, rather trust the Chinese government? Do you know he says that? Habib Jeffrey, y'all. When this little masjid here at my Wallah Ladim, okay, there was a small masjid here called Rhoda. You understand? Wallah Ladim, I'm not making this up. And I hope one of y'all can find the link so I can post it. Because I was supposed to get that, but I forgot. But look, my masjid here. Well, it was my masjid. They moved to some other place. There's a hardcore Sufi masjid. And Wallah Lazim, okay? Rabb al-Kaaba, on Yom al-Jum'ah, the imam of that masjid, during the Jum'ah khutbah, while he was giving the khutbah, he started making dua, not for the Muslims, not for Muslim unity, not for the end of the destruction or the decrease. He started making dua for who? Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau. There is nothing that they can't morph for the leadership of any country. I don't know any country where they go except that they try to cozy up and suck up to the leadership. And most of these big Islamic organizations are run by either Sufis or Ikhwanis. And that's why you have a hardcore left-leaning Islamic push for Muslims. Because most of them are liberal and they just tell you to vote liberal. Like this walk for the beloved. If you were sincere, right, and you want to make a dawah movement, would you go to the leadership or would you go to the general people? What did the Prophet ﷺ do? Did the Prophet ﷺ, did he go to the just to the leadership, or was he calling the people to Islam? Rabia, put this in my YouTube, please, inshallah. Yes, we understand Mawlid is a bid'ah, but we're just going to say, for example, it's not a bid'ah. We're just saying that, for example. We're saying, if it's not a bid'ah and you are worshiping Allah by this Mawlid, why are you inviting Kufar leadership to take a picture? Like, why are you doing this? This is how you're going to get closer to Allah? What you're actually saying when you do stuff like this, what is implied here, and this is important to understand, what is implied by you inviting these white kafirs who are in these political positions to your Mawlid celebration is that we see you on top of us and over us, and we're okay with you being a kafir. And we are graced by your presence over here. That's what you're saying. You're not putting Islam in a position of power like that. And on top of that, you give them a platform to speak to who? Other Muslims. Who is Abu Talib? Abu Talib is the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, correct? Abu Talib helped the religion of Islam more than most of the Sahaba did, correct? Yes or no? He did this, right? Abu Talib aided the Prophet ﷺ, correct? How many times did Prophet Muhammad ﷺ give Abu Talib a platform to speak to the Muslims? And he loved Abu Talib. Okay? He loved Abu Talib. But here you are. I just want to clarify something here. I'm Canadian. I love Canada, right? I love my country. I'm not ungrateful or unthankful for the opportunity that we have here in Canada, okay? Every country has its problems. And quite honestly, I see myself in a better situation being here in Canada than most Muslim countries. Okay? If I went to Libya today, Muslim country, about 5 or 10 minutes, I'd be snatched up, thrown in jail, and sold into slavery, tortured, and probably killed. I'm not unaware of the situation in Muslim countries. You understand? However, sucking up to the enemy, while you know where the enemy is, it's the enemy, is not in the best interest of the Muslims. Period. But that was just one of the things I wanted to show. Here's the big thing that kind of like just made my jaw drop. Okay. Like, subscribe, share me up on Patreon. So here, this is Canadian Council of Imams. It's about, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 imams here, right? One black one. A few, like when I say black, I mean ADOS, like African descendant of slavery, okay? A couple of Somalis. The rest are Indo-Pacs and Arabs. Majority Indo-Pacs. Vast majority Sufi, right? We're just going to read some of the titles here, okay? The vacation is a necessity, okay? We got to be careful what we say here. From a fiqh perspective, we see the vacation has become, in our current circumstances, an indispensable measure. Who's putting this together, y'all? Who's putting this together, y'all? That's right. Your Sufi imams. Okay? Harm is to be removed. During pandemics and rapid contagion, extreme measures might be taken by the authorities to save the population. Who's saying this? Seeking medical treatment, and then they come with the ayats and everything like that. But here's the point. I'm not anti-vax, I'm pro-vax, okay? If somebody wants to take the vacation, let them take the vacation. But you're saying that the vacation is completely harmless, and you're making it a religious obligation now on the Muslims. Why? To get close, not because it's a religious obligation. No, that's not it. If any of these imams had any self-respect, they would look at the history behind these vacations in their own countries, particularly in the continent of Africa and in South Asia. If they had any self-respect. But it's clear that they don't have any self-respect. And now, by doing this, those of us who don't want to go on vacation now are being put under even more pressure because they are making it a religious obligation. You can't make this crap up. You can't make this crap up. And it's always for the last how many centuries, Sufis doing this stuff, man. All the time. And we're not, didn't I say it's not the awam? It's not like the general people, it's always a leadership. Always a leadership. Did I not say that? Let me see. Let me see this 1 second here. One second. I'm looking for the link. I think somebody said that they sent. If you can send the link again of Habib Jeffrey, I didn't see it. Send the link about Habib Jeffrey and the Uyghurs. You think I'm playing? And if anybody can find the link of whatchamacallit, Imran Hussein and the Christians, do you think I'm not making this stuff up? So Voice of Islam, yeah, says I'm conflating two issues. I would love to hear what I'm conflating, inshallah. As a matter of fact, let me put the link out here. If you want to tell me what I'm conflating, no problem, inshallah. Come on. Let's get it right. Let's get it right, inshallah. It's all love, bro. It's all love. It's all love. Anyways, this other thing started going around because, as a response to that. Just let me show y'all. If you guys want to join me, the link is in the chat, inshallah. Okay. This right here was written by a bunch of other Muslims who are not about taking the vacation, you know, and they wrote it in a respectful way more respectful than I did, right? But they're basically saying you put Muslims in a very difficult situation. Already, they're banning Muslims from going to the masajid because of whatchamacallit, because of the CoCo, right? And if you don't go on vacation for the CoCo, you can't go to the masajid. You understand? Even me, I was seriously considering taking the vacation. I made istikhara for it and everything, right? Because I wanted to, you know, be able to go to these type of places. But after I made istikhara, and then shortly afterwards, Brother Muhammad Hijab, he said what happened to him, how, you know, he got the CoCo after he went on vacation. He almost died, and he lost part of his left lung, which is permanently damaged. I was like, okay, thanks, but no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. So Voice of Islam is saying I'm conflating the Mawlid with vacation. That's because you probably weren't here to hear the beginning. You understand? It wasn't about the Mawlid. Salaam Alaikum, brother, reactionary.
Alaikum salam, brother. How are you?
How you doing, bro? How are you, bro?
I'm well, thanks. You all right?
I'm very, very happy to talk to you finally, man. I know you're a supporter of the channel. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you're right highlighting these sellout Muslims who just imitate the kuffar and just they have no principles whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine at the start of this whole worldwide situation, I was expressing doubts about, you know, the legitimacy of what's being promoted, and I was suggesting people don't take these vacations until we see some sort of results. And the person who's a doctor, a medical doctor, said to me online on his live show that if somebody dies as a result of me preaching against the vacation, I would be guilty of manslaughter.
How? Kif?
Because
What was his,
in his view, the vacation would prevent that person from dying.
I see. Is that the case though? Does the vacation prevent the disease?
So what's come out now? Here's the
Go ahead.
situation with the vacation, right? The vacation, all it does is mitigate symptoms, right? It doesn't allow symptoms to become too extreme where you would need a ventilator, for example, right? It just suppresses the severity of your symptoms. So your temperature, your breathing, but it doesn't stop you catching, nor does it stop you spreading the vacation. So taking it doesn't benefit or harm anybody around you. Okay, all it will do is potentially benefit you by dampening the severity of what you will experience.
Yeah, well, this is well known. This is actually what is commonly spread even amongst the CDC. Who else said this? What's that? Fauci. He said the same thing, right? That it does not prevent the disease itself. It just mitigates the symptoms. That's what they say. You understand?
Yes. And in terms of you know what they found out now? What happened? There was this. There's a doctor online. His name is Dr. Campbell from the UK. He's a very strong pro-vacation advocate, and he recently interviewed this famous American cyclist. He does mountain biking, right? Professional mountain biker. He took this vacation, and shortly after, developed anxiety attacks, very high heart rate. To the point he can no longer compete or do his profession anymore, and he had to go hospital. At first, his doctors suggested that he's mentally, ill, right? Suggested that he's not really experiencing what he's experiencing. But I think after several weeks, those doctors encountered other patients coming in with the same issue, so they found out that what's really probably the cause. You know when you get the injection in your arm, that's what they do. They'll jab you in your arm, and that's why people say after their injection they get a bit of swelling on their arm. Now, what they're supposed to do, there's a technique of injecting, right? They're supposed to sort of squeeze the skin on the arm, put the needle in, and then pull it out to make sure that no blood comes into the syringe. Okay, because if there's no blood coming into the syringe, that means they're not going to inject into the arteries. They're going to inject simply under the skin, and then it will be absorbed naturally. However, that technique is called aspiration. Now, what's happened is people who are administering these jabs, they're not properly trained, or they're not sufficiently taking care of that situation. The guidance isn't actually specific enough to say, do that technique. So what they'll do, they'll inject a person into the bloodstream, and that drug goes immediately to the heart, causing the heart to swell. And this is what's causing issues with people. It's the technique. Now, the jab itself isn't necessarily a bad thing if you want to mitigate. All it does is treat your symptoms.
Well,
right?
brother reaction. If you can leave the link in the comments. Right, that would be greatly appreciated. I think for a lot of us, the first time we're hearing about that, and it's so important to vet this stuff. You know what I mean? You know, like I said, I'm not anti-vax. I'm just pro-vax, right? If somebody wants to get the vacation, I'm not going to say don't get the vacation. Everybody has their personal choice or their personal preference, but they should have all the facts first, right? And the tactics that are being used is what I'm against. You know,
compulsion, the coercion. Exactly. I give me a choice whether to take it or not, but don't say I can't travel unless I have it. You know, in the United States, just
I can't go to the gym, I can't eat at a restaurant.
You know what happened in the States this week? They're trying to get schools to force their children to have vacations. And the parents.
Not only
parents,
in the States. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so I'm talking about one particular location in America. I've forgotten if it might be Ohio, but the parents were objecting to this, and the schools and the administration of the schools, the governing bodies, they wrote a letter to Joe Biden asking him to declare these parents domestic terrorists.
Wow, mashallah.
And so this letter or this email got leaked, and so now there's a lot of pressure on the governors, on the people in charge of the education department to sack these teachers who did that. But this is what they're doing. This is the problem with the Democratic Party type people, and in the UK we call them the Labour Party. They think they own you. They're socialists. They think they know everything better than you, and you have no choice. They're like communists, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Jazakallah khair, brother. You're reactionary.
Right,
we have another brother coming in here, but thanks for your input, and please leave the links that you cited. Please.
All right, then, thanks.
Hayakullah, Sheikh. And we have brother. Where are we? Where is this? Ja?
Salaam Alaikum.
Salam. This is voice of Ja? Voice of Islam, Ja?
Yeah. That's good.
How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Another long-time supporter. Jazakallah khair. I'm honored to finally talk to you as well. Hayakallah. Always
a pleasure, man. I like what you do. I like the effort that you make. May Allah bless us all for our efforts.
Jazakallah khair. Hayakallah, Sheikh. Yes.
All right. So here's what I got for you. So we started the discussion looking at trying to essentially put matters of ibadah and then joining with the disbelievers on those matters. Correct?
Yes.
Do I have it correct?
Yes, correct. Yes.
And so I'm following you with that. Now let's move over to the vacation. Have you ever been to Hajj?
No, I've been to Umrah many times though. Many times.
When you had to go for Umrah, what was one of the requirements?
Yeah, well, you have to have a certain
yellow. Vacation. Thank you very much. Yes. Now, do you know what the risks of that vacation is?
What is it?
Guillain-Barré.
Again?
Guillain-Barré. So Guillain-Barré is a type of neurological.
Guillain-Barré, I got you.
So let me see if I get this straight. So we are okay with being compelled by for Hajj for that vacation and others, because there are others you have to have. You're not going to be able to go for Hajj or Umrah. Now, when they add this one to it, suddenly we say, "Oh, I cannot believe this." Wait, so how are we not being consistent? Why are we not saying there should be no requirement for any vacation? So that's where my issue comes. My issue becomes there is inconsistency in our arguments.
Yeah, this right here is actually a very good point. And there is, especially within the Black community, there's always something with vacations. Always. Okay. Right. Whether it's what they did to us in Africa with HIV, whether Tuskegee, you know what I mean?
No, so I agree with you. So therefore, the point I'm making is, so we have to then look at these matters in a balanced way. That's my approach.
Yeah.
Right? So to the imams or the council of imams that make certain recommendations, my question is, who are they talking to? They're talking to medical professionals. So that's why I said that you're conflating two issues, because on one issue, they're taking advice from medical professionals who are saying to them, when you look at all the evidence in front of you, this is a good thing for your community. So they have one of two things. Either they're going to listen to medical advice, they're going to follow the sunnah of asking those who know if you don't know, because these imams are not medical trained.
Yes. So
if they do that and they follow to the best of their ability to conflate it with Mawlid, that's why I believe that to conflate the two, I disagree with. I get your point with Mawlid. I completely agree, and I agree with how they do in terms of following the liberal mindset and so on. Completely on the same page with you. But then to conflate that with them taking advice in a matter that is a matter that they don't know.
Well, here's the point, okay? With these Eastern Muslims, when they come over here to the West, they have a certain pattern in their behavior. And that pattern is they come over here, they're not here to cause or stir up any issues, period. And many of these Easterners, they come over here, and the first thing they do is they tell their kids, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be an engineer, just keep your head down, let's take out these loans, we'll get you through university, and blah, 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 and then you're going to live the American dream or whatever it is. So they're not here to stir the pot. You feel me? Now, since the CoCo came out from the beginning of the CoCo, some of us have been just sitting down, watching and observing. And some of these elites, imams, have been putting themselves forward very early, encouraging people from all the way last year to take the vacation. And what did they say? What are the things that they said? They said that there is no haram ingredients, correct? They said this, right? They said that it cannot cause any harm, period. They said this, correct? They said all of this. They put their reputations on the line by making these bold statements. If they said nothing, but just advise the people, for me, I would take it. I don't think anybody would have a problem with that.
So wait, so if they, I get what you're saying. So if they say, for me, I would take it. So then the question then comes, no, not just for you. What is your advice to the community?
That's the issue right here. And
so then they now have to.
Look at the language that they use. Yeah, look at the language they use when they are advising the community. Is that the advice that they should be giving, that it doesn't cause harm? So then when they say it doesn't cause harm, and then we can show, look what it did to Muhammad hijab, then what is their the messaging that you're sending is completely contradictory. The people who have taken the vacation and they have been harmed, are they anti-vax or pro-vax?
No, they're pro, but I think
right? So these people have been listening to their advice. They went and they got harmed, and now they're telling people that, look, yes, you can get harmed by the vacation. Yes, you can get the disease, but this is what's happening. You feel me? So now,
so I think I'm misunderstanding you, because what I would like to see, inshallah, if you can provide the link, I would like it. I'd like to see where they were saying it won't harm you. And I think let me tell you what I mean by that. Sure. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Sure. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Because there's a difference between something inflicting harm and something having a side effect.
Yeah, we're not talking
what people thought. No, people thought that the vacation was meant to inflict harm. Mm-hmm. There are people who still think that today, that the vacation.
I agree.
And so, from my understanding, is what a lot of these, shuyukh and imams and so on are saying is, no, this thing is not meant to inflict harm. That's what I understand.
That is not what they said, though.
Okay, what did they say?
I understand what you're saying.
What did they say?
They said that it can't inflict harm.
Okay, that I would like to see, because what that means is that statement, because anyone who is going to take anything in this dunya, there's no way you can say that anything can't. If you drink an excess amount of water, it will inflict harm.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Just let me get I have a very small clip I put on you just for this particular situation.
Sure. No problem.
So let me get it up here for you. Everybody like, subscribe, share, and please hit me up on Patreon, and let's see some super stickers, please. Jazakallah khair. All right. So let me just get it up here. And we'll just play it. Right, one time. One second. Let me share with the brother. And share with the screen and everybody. I'll leave the link if everybody wants to come on as well, right? But the link is in. Let me just put the link in the chat one time. 1 second. 1 second, Shay. Okay. So we go here and then we share. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen. Okay, watch now.
The COVID vaccine is completely safe.
And this
What did he say? What did he say?
He says it's completely safe.
Okay, all right.
video, I'm going to be talking about a 13-year-old boy in Michigan who died 3 days after getting the Pfizer vaccine.
Is it possible in any way, fashion, or form to somehow get the virus, get COVID from the vaccine itself?
So that's a very good question. And the answer is no, it is absolutely impossible to get actual COVID or any other disease from the vaccine, from an mRNA vaccine.
What did he say?
Yeah, no. He said you can't get it from the vaccine.
Yes. Okay.
That's true. You cannot. Hold on, stop. But that is, you agree with that, correct?
Muhammad Hijab, I'm just quoting him. He said,
No. Listen to the statement. The statement is very specific. The statement says you cannot get the actual virus from the vaccine, not illness. Rewind it and listen to it again. So that's a true statement.
I got that part. But here's the point. Here's the point.
Yes.
People are getting the CoCo from the vaccine.
Not from the vaccine. No.
So what are they getting it from? Where are they getting it from?
It's been meaning there. When you have the vaccine, you can still get it from someone else. You're not 100% protected. But the the vacation itself doesn't have even the entire virus particle in it.
Yes,
that's
what the doctor said. That's what that doctor
said.
Yeah,
that's the point. That's the reason why that statement is an accurate statement.
Okay, that's an accurate. Okay, I'll agree with you. That is an accurate statement.
The previous one wasn't. This is an accurate one.
Yeah. Okay, the previous one was inaccurate. This is an accurate statement. I agree with you. An mRNA vaccine, you can't get a virus or any sickness from it, right?
You can't get the actual COVID infection from it. You can get illnesses as a result of side effects.
Yes. Okay. However, what is happening, right, is that vaccinated people, after they're getting the vaccine, are getting what?
Yes. They're getting side effects.
That's the problem. Not
side effects. Listen,
Sheikh. Listen, Sheikh.
Go ahead.
From an mRNA vaccine.
142 Houstonians have tested positive for COVID after being fully vaccinated. This is according to the Houston Health Department.
Okay, so now what people are hearing is that, okay, I hear you that you can't get the actual virus. I got that part.
Yes.
But what people are hearing when they hear that you can't get the disease from the vacation, and then they get the disease after they get the vacation, that is a problem.
What that therefore means the problem is with literacy. Because if you think about it, Yashi, if I say to you, when you drive down the road, you will not see any blue cars. Then you see red cars, and you come back to me and said, I saw red cars. I said, yes, but you won't see blue cars. Well, you told me I wouldn't see cars. No, I told you wouldn't see blue cars. So the issue is literacy. So we have to become literate in our community. But we cannot, people not being literate or having a good grasp of the matter shouldn't be a reason for which we then cast doubt on a statement that has been said by an imam or sheikh or someone.
No problem. Let's leave the literacy out of it, right?
No, what I mean when I say literacy, you don't understand. Literacy and intelligence is not the same. I don't want the listeners to think.
I know what you mean. I
okay, good.
I mean, like in terms of
understanding the messaging, right? Yes,
I get that. All right,
okay.
Let's leave that out of it for a second, right?
Right.
Can you or can you not get the CoCo after going on vacation?
Yeah, because it is 95%.
If that is the case, right?
Yes.
If that is the case, then why is your loving governments who love you so much, right, forcing you to genetically modify your DNA to stop the CoCo,
even
though you don't, it doesn't have that type of chance of stopping the CoCo.
Okay, like, so let's put it this way. So the concern of the infection is what? Getting to the hospital and dying.
Yes.
Those are two extreme concerns. The risk of that happening, of you getting to the hospital and dying, to start with, that risk is actually low. That risk, however, is higher than other infections. The risk of you dying from this infection is higher than the risk of you dying from the flu. It's higher than the risk of you dying from adenovirus. It's higher than the risk of you dying from rhinovirus. So this virus carries a higher risk of dying, even though in the broad spectrum, it's still low, meaning the amount of people who actually die and go to the hospital from it is not, it's high enough that it bottlenecks the hospital. And that is where the concern is. The concern is people will show up to the hospital, need a hospital bed, need an ICU and a ventilator, and they can't get it. So the question now becomes, as a government, if you're looking and you see that situation, your question now is, what do I want to prevent? Number one, I want to prevent the infection. Number two, I want to prevent people getting sick and people coming to the hospital, people dying. So these studies, when you look at all the studies, whether it be the one that was done in the UK, AstraZeneca, the ones that were done in the US, Pfizer, Moderna, etc., all of them, look at their conclusion. None of them concluded that you would not get the infection. They all concluded your risk of going to the hospital and dying is lower. So they're telling you that. They're telling you that the reason you're getting this vacation is so you don't have to go to the hospital and so you don't have to die. No one is saying it's that you won't get the infection. The language or the way people are saying it is where the problem is, unfortunately.
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you. The way that the people are presenting it is making people very suspicious.
100%.
Including me. I'm very
100%.
Right? And I'm still very suspicious. I know that our respected governments don't love us enough to force us to take a vacation for our well-being. This is what I know.
Okay, so I can put it to you this way. So does it benefit them to allow the infection to continue?
If you look at what these people have done in the past, then absolutely it does. You're talking about
because now what you're looking at is you're risking your manpower that you need. They need the manpower as much as they want to have control and this and that and so on. When you start having a significant infection continue to ravage your population, you're risking your economic system started to fall. They had huge economic downturn. They had people not being able to go to school, people not being able to go to work. They had to shut down this. They shut down their own means of pleasures. They shut down their basketball games, their baseball games, etc. In what way does that benefit them? If we are going to argue that these are people who like pleasure and the dunya and this, what way did it benefit them to have to shut it down?
When you're playing 3-dimensional chess,
3D chess.
Yeah, when you're playing 3-dimensional chess, it's a lot more complicated.
I agree. I'm not challenging that point. What I want us to realize, however, is from my analysis of it, the risk of people dying and bottlenecks to the hospitals is a significant risk, and it's high enough. That's where some of the concern comes from. That's number one. Number two, when people get the infection and go to the hospital, they get blood clots in their lungs.
Do they get blood clots from the vacation?
They get blood clots in their lung 10 times higher from the infection than the vacation. Think about that. So now the question becomes,
okay,
which game do you want to play? Do you want to play Muhammad Ijaz's game, or do you want to play the infection game? What I mean is the risk of it happening, and we are very happy that it never that our brother is preserved. Yeah. Alhamdulillah, we're very happy. But it happened, and so I can't take that from him.
Yeah.
But then how can I ignore the 10 times of people who are getting it because of the infection?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I get that point, right? Look at here, Sheikh. You seen what happened in Rwanda when the vacation started, right? And other places in Africa, actually, how they handled the entire situation, right? And they dealt with that situation better than most countries in the world. Feel me?
Okay.
Right? The difference is that in the West, in the Western countries, there's a massive distrust between the people and the government, and 100% so. So there was not much cooperation, particularly starting from the States, and that kind of spread out because of Donald Trump at the time to other Western countries. They kind of followed his lead, right? So now, when you're talking about the risk of the vacation compared to the actual infection, you probably know better than me that those people who are getting infected are not people who actually follow guidelines to prevent themselves from getting the infection, correct? Especially the ones who are getting infected now, correct? They're not following any guidelines. They're not wearing masks. They're not social distancing. They're mostly like, anti-maskers.
But this is the issue I have. This is the issue I have, Sheikh, because you fall more into the middle, meaning you're a middle person, or we all try to be a middle person, looking on both sides and calling out both sides, right?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, and we need more of that. We need more people trying to call out both sides. The issue I have is, I'm sorry?
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair.
Oh, so the issue I'm having, however, is there are people who they will tell you in one breath that the vacation does this, does that, does that. Then you ask them, but do you think the infection is real? No, not real. So there's no need to social distance. There's no need to mask. So now so that to me is where the overarching problem is.
That's the real problem, right?
Is that there is no balanced discussion and genuine critique, because you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't tell me the infection is not real, but then you are against the vacation. No, the issue is you don't even think anything exists. You think it's all made up. You think it's hairy-fairy. So you think it's hairy-fairy. I don't want to hear your discussion about the vacation.
Exactly. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. So
that I agree with you on that. That we're not able to have meaningful discussions because the same people who are anti, and they also don't really exist to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. So me now, I do follow precautions. I do wear a mask, right? I do clean up, the sanitizer and stuff like that. I do social distancing, right? Is it necessary for me now, when I'm doing this, to get the vacation, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, why do I have to genetically modify my body if I'm doing all the precautions because I know this thing exists? You feel me? Go ahead, reactionary. You're live.
Oh yes, I wanted to speak to this brother as well. Is he still here?
No, I think he got cut off, but
okay.
Yeah.
Then,
Go ahead, bro.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, you'll let him back on if he comes back, if his battery survives. But
Okay.
yeah, it's
as long as it doesn't turn into an argument, we're good. But like, if it's like a discussion, no problem, right?
You notice the way he tries to speak to you in a condescending fashion, like he
No,
knows more than you.
I didn't feel that at all.
No, you didn't feel it, but that's what I observed.
No,
he's coming from that sort of liberal perspective of he knows everything and you don't know anything.
No, I did not get that vibe at all. I thought it was a pretty constructive.
Okay, tell me one thing he accepted from you.
Yeah, we agreed on some things, right?
No, you agreed with some things he said. Did he agree with anything you said?
Yes. He conceded that what the Imam said about it does not cause any harm was incorrect. And because I played the video, he didn't know. And he conceded that.
He didn't concede that. No, I didn't hear him concede.
Yeah, he
that.
did. He did concede, bro.
No, he argued the case that mRNA doesn't give you any sort of, you cannot give you the vaccine.
Well, the mRNA itself, yes, that is true. So, but the point is that when people are taking these, my point was that if people are taking these vacations,
yeah,
and they're still getting the virus, that's a problem. How are you going to force people to take the vacation if people are still getting the CoCo?
Why did Colin Powell end up in hospital?
These type of things. Now the messaging is all messed up, and so now my whole thing was that whatchamacallit, and he's the one who brought this up. He brought it up because there's a problem with the messaging. Right. And I said, yes, it's a big problem. And this causes distrust. There's no doubt.
He also didn't accept your position that the certain powers that be are not to be trusted. Okay.
No, he accepted that.
No, he didn't. He
okay,
argued that.
Let me invite him on, right? But we're not going to argue.
No
right?
fighting, no arguing. It'll be respectful from my side, definitely.
No. We have to be respectful, right? We don't do the arguing here, right?
Yeah, of course, brother.
Yeah. Voice of Jah, you're on. You're live.
Is this Brother Abdul Mateen?
Brother Reactionary.
Oh, Brother Reactionary.
No, Brother Reactionary. He has some questions for you.
Salaam Alaikum.
Alaikum salam, Brother Abdul Mateen.
See that? When it started with the salam, there can be no argumentation. Anyway, go ahead.
So
yeah.
Like, I don't get why you're so blindly following and believing whatever you're told in the media.
All right, good. So first and foremost, the statement you just made is loaded, right?
Yes.
You should ask me, brother, how do you take what they say and so on and so forth, right? So I'm assuming that's what you're asking.
No, I'm not asking. I'm basing my comment based on what I've heard you say.
Okay, great.
Everything that the brother mentioned to you, you just didn't accept anything he said. You seem to believe that what you say is fact.
Let me moderate here. Let me moderate here. Brother Reactionary, you have to be specific. Which point? Don't be like very general. Just ask him specifically which point, and then he can reply.
Brother Abdul Mateen, you suggest that whoever takes the vacation will not end up going to hospital or facing severe difficulties. Yet we see Colin Powell, who was double vacationed, he had to go hospital and he died. He's dead.
Okay.
Mortality there. So why should somebody take what you said as being correct?
Sure.
Yeah,
let me answer that. First and foremost, Brother Reactionary, do you believe that there is an actual infection called COVID?
I'm
sorry, you're not answering the question, brother.
Answer. Let him make his point.
It doesn't matter what I believe. The point is.
So I'm going to answer your question. I am going to answer your question. But I wanted to show that.
The question was about Colin Powell and your statement.
I will answer the question about Colin Powell, but I wanted to show that point to Brother Bilal first. Anyway, so the point for Colin Powell. So I at no point said that by taking the vacation you would not go to the hospital and you would not die. If you understood that, let me repeat and clarify. What I said was your chances the chance that that would happen to you is much less. That's what the medical study that was done by all the vacations, that's what they show. They show that the likelihood of you ending up dying or going to the hospital is far less if you have the vacation. Does that clarify the point or not? Then I'll answer the Colin Powell one.
Okay, yeah, that wasn't the point of my question, but go ahead, continue.
So number one is that I never said if you get it, you won't go to the hospital and you won't die. I never said that, and the evidence doesn't say that either. I'm going based on the evidence. Number two, Colin Powell. How old was Colin Powell?
84.
Good. So good. Number two, that's number one. So his age. Number two, did he have any other medical illnesses that would make his body much weaker than the other persons in society?
Yeah, he did have some conditions.
He had multiple myeloma. He had cancer. So we're now looking at an 84-year-old who has cancer,
yes,
who then gets an infection and then saying, well, see, look, he passed away despite having the vacation, which you would also have to agree that is not a fair comparison, because number one, the people at the highest risk of having an issue with the infection are those who are over the age of 65. If you're over the age of 75, it's even worse. If you're over the age of 80, that's even worse. Why? Because your immune system is far weaker. Then you have cancer. It's compromised. Then you have cancer. So do you understand now, Brother Reactionary, why the statement doesn't quite add up?
So voice of Jack, right? I have to ask you. The vacation now is sort of marketed towards people exactly like Colin Powell for the very reasons that you're mentioning, right?
Yes.
What we are seeing now, and it's not just people in his age bracket, but we're actually seeing more cases of people getting Guillain-Barré syndrome, right?
Guillain-Barré. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're seeing cases of blood clots of one of the NBA players. I can't remember his name. Do you know Reactionary?
Right.
By any
Yeah, I know
chance?
the one you're talking about.
Yeah, he got blood clots from the vacation.
Bradley Beal.
Right.
No.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So how, even if we explain away what happened with Colin Powell with his medical condition, if we do that,
yes,
we're still marketing the vacation for people exactly like him directly, and they're still passing away from the CoCo, right?
Okay, all right.
Go ahead. Voice.
Now, my question would therefore be: there are persons who are diabetic.
Yeah.
They are taking a medication called metformin. Metformin is one of the most commonly taken medication for diabetes. What I would like persons to do is to Google what are the side effects of taking metformin. Number one, the side effects of it, liver damage. Number two, megaloblastic anemia. It's a type of anemia where a type of situation where your blood count drops and your red cells get massive. Now, when I look at metformin and the people who have diabetes, and I see that 500,000 people that take the metformin, 450,000 get their blood sugar under control, their diabetes is better controlled, they will live better lives, but 50,000 have side effects, and of that 50,000, 2,000 have megaloblastic anemia. I now look at the 2,000, not the 450,000 who are benefiting. I now say, well, look, the 2,000 had an issue. So there is an issue with metformin. You would say to me, brother, you are not being fair because you are being unbalanced.
Yes.
And that's what I think is happening here. We are not looking at the entire data. We're looking at select few complications. you and I agree with this, and that's why, again, I disagree with the reactionary. You and I agree that there are areas and issues of concern. Number one, marketing. Number two, this belief that, oh, they are completely on our side and they want to do everything for us. We're on the same page there. But we have to look at the entirety of the data and not one particular area. When we look at one particular area, we can swing ourselves in any direction. That's my point.
Okay, I'll let Brother Reactionary get his point, and then I'll reply.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank you. All right. So what we're seeing is an illness, and let's call it a something that exists in the world that was produced in a lab in China and funded by Dr. Fauci. Okay, he did something called I forgot the word. It's where they take two different things, splice them together, and make it more potent. Gain of function. Okay, yeah. This is a fact. All right, I don't know how you're going to explain that away. Secondly, we have the issue of people becoming resistant, or sorry, this illness or virus becoming resistant to these drugs. Just like when you spray weeds with weed killer, eventually they get resistant to the weed killer and develop into super weeds. Now we're getting all these variants of the illness which are not affected by the drugs, which means we're going to have to take extra drugs until we have a permanent cycle of taking drugs every year. New drugs, top-up drugs. Just like you get antivirus on your computer, you have to download new signatures and update them. This approach is used by software engineers, hence Bill Gates and his Microsoft approach to managing software. He's using that to apply to pharmacies. Now, another thing is give people a choice. I don't want to be forced to take this vaccine. Nobody should have that right to tell me what to take or put into my body. Anyhow, that's really my response to you so far on that point.
Yeah, I have to say something about what Brother Reactionary said, and that is this idea of the virus mutating and then having a forever vaccination. That's the actual business plan. You feel me? Like this is the whole business model. And the COVID vaccines will become the new flu vaccines, right? Where every year, because of the mutations in the virus, you'll be taking a new vaccine, and therefore, it's going to be like an endless supply of profits for these pharmaceutical companies. And this is already in the making, anyways. So now the compulsion behind it is bad enough. Bare minimum, we can say that this is a profiteering racket, but they're using the public health of the people in order to carry out this racket. You understand? Now, going back to what the brother Voice of Jah was saying about the data, this is an important point. And what I'm saying to Brother Voice of Jah is that we are only seeing the data now because we are the data, right? There were no experiments to receive the data before this the CoCo was spread throughout the world. You feel me? The whole thing is a giant experiment. You understand? Do you know who Dr. Christine Parks is by any chance? Voice of Jah?
Yes.
What do you think about her and what she says?
So I think that's her. If you listen to her testimony and her statements, there were so many flaws in it. I think we would have to go through it individually for me to show you how flawed it was.
Okay.
She made some good points, but she also had quite a lot of flaws in the way she presented the material. But I do also want to kind of go back to the point that Brother Reactionary made. So first and foremost, compulsion, I believe, something has to warrant a particular level for you to compel it on people, right? I also take the opinion that you shouldn't compel people to take it. So let's make sure we're all on the same page there. We shouldn't compel persons to take it. However, like I said,
we're in agreement on something now. Yeah, good.
We're in agreement on a lot of things. I think what's happening, unfortunately, is we all come into this discourse sometimes believing that because somebody takes a different opinion, like remember, think about what you.
Hello?
I think his connection dropped.
Yeah, I think we lost a connection there. Yeah. Yeah, so.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Back.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, unfortunately, we come into this discourse and we're thinking that the other person is this or that. That's not the case. We just need to listen to each other. So this thing was made in a lab. It would therefore mean that if it was made in a lab, you believe it's an actual infection, reactionary.
Okay.
Yeah, good. So if we start in that
I didn't agree or disagree, but
so this is where I think the discourse is. This is why we can't have discourse, because you're asking me to answer and I'm trying to answer, but you're kind of muddying your answer in a you just have to tell us either you believe it's an actual infection or you don't. You're allowed to have that
your
opinion.
position should stand regardless of my belief. Now, I may be arguing.
Let me tell you why I can't stand. I'll show you why I can't stand. Because if I'm telling you,
let me just jump in here. Right. See, what we want to understand is that we have to be clear, especially when you're involved in civil discourse. You have to be very clear on your positions because we're trying to reach conclusions, right? Vague, ambiguous answers. They don't.
They don't move the conversation forward.
Yeah, they don't move the conversation on, right? So if you don't believe that the CoCo is real, just say it's not real, right? If you do believe that the CoCo is real, just say it's real, right? So that we can move the conversation.
Well, you can make your position clear regardless of my belief. It doesn't.
Okay, all right. So this is okay. So my point is this. My point is this is the reason why I believe that our imams in our communities are having an issue. They're having an issue because they are overseeing community members that tell them this thing does not exist. So now they can't even, if we can't start on that premise of whether it exists or not, how then, how can we criticize whatever decision they make? They can't even, they're like, does it exist? No, it doesn't exist. It does exist. What are we supposed to believe here? Okay. That's where the issue comes from. So that's number one. Number two, it was made in a lab. I'm not even going to argue that, okay? Because at the end of the day, if something is made in a lab, then it exists and it's real. Now, when it is real, we now have to decide how do we deal with it for our community. Our community as elderly people, our community as people with comorbidities, our community has people with many illnesses, ailments, and so on. So when I want to make a recommendation to the community, I'm keeping everybody in mind. I can't keep the young 20-something-year-old young man or 30-something or 40-something who's healthy and is not going to be affected. I got to keep the grandma and the grandpa that's going to come in and make salat and so on. I got to keep them in mind also. So what am I going to recommend to them? I have to say, well, do I recommend that they take this vacation? Well, what are the information in front of me? Well, let me go to those who know. So I go to the scientists and the medical people, and they show me the evidence and they show me the information, right? So now the question becomes, should you compel it for an entire community, right? And then we can have that argument to say, no, you shouldn't compel it. You should look at those who are at highest risk and say to them, we think you should get this because the evidence shows that you will not do well if you get the infection. But the rest of the community, we can't compel them and say, you can't come to Salat if you haven't had this, because how can we disconnect people from the masjid and so on? That's a different discussion that we can have. And I can support you on that discussion to not compel and so on. But I can't support you. You're going to tell me it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Can I just give you a quick response before I forget? Yeah. So in terms of going to those who know, that's obviously something I agree with. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that. what doesn't exist, and I've never seen it anywhere, is a complete unanimity of opinion, especially amongst academics. What we found is the suppression of differences of opinion. Even academics and journals. A journal was removed today. An academic journal was removed today without reason. I can't remember the journal. I'll have to share you the link. I watched a video today of an academic journal that was removed, which was showing data with regards to treatment, etc., especially with the ivermectin. So we see differences of opinion amongst scholars, whether it be in Islam or outside of Islam. And also this, in terms of getting the illness, I had the illness myself, right? So I've been through it. And it's not nice, definitely not nice. But I didn't take the vacation, nor do I ever intend to. Okay.
Well, I mean, your body has provided you with the natural.
Yes, but these people are trying to.
Okay, at least
even
it
if you've had the vacation,
it exists.
Sorry, even if you've got the natural antibodies, you should still take the vacation. And our doctors, there's a famous doctor in the UK who's very pro vacation.
I don't want to block you, but you see that point you just made. That's a point that I can even support you on too. I can be like, hold on, this goes against what we have known in science, right? We've known that the natural immunity is better than the artificial. We've known this. Now, so you see that those are discourses that we can have together, right? And so when we have differences, or when you make that statement, I'm not gonna say, hey, why are you listening to that guy, that doctor on YouTube from England? Why are you blind following him? Why are you blind following Dr. Campbell? I'm not going to say that because I'm saying I'm not going to make that assumption of you because I'm assuming that you are trying to get to the truth of the matter. I'm saying to you that these of our imams some of them, and it is my humble opinion, that I do believe some of them are trying to get to the truth of the matter on the matter of vacation. That's why I told Brother Bilal.
Can you show us one imam who is taking a skeptical approach?
I just want to hop in here that alhamdulillah, I didn't know that Brother Reactionary had the CoCo. So we have two people here that are very important for this conversation. One who had the CoCo, and one is a medical doctor who works in the front lines of people of the CoCo. Right, so this is I hope that people will share this conversation. Please, super stickers, guys, come on! Right, we're going overtime here.
Like, subscribe, Patreon.
Patreon, yeah. This is a very important. This is a very important, and I'm so happy.
Do subscribe to the channel. This is good discourse, and we should have more of these discourse.
Yeah, and if we can talk like this to each other, we can get a lot solved. You know what I mean?
I agree.
You know, this is how we get. We solve situations, right, by speaking to each other and listening, you know, like discourse like this. So go ahead, brother. Actually, I just wanted to get that out.
So that's a good point that you're bringing it back onto the imams, because this begs the question now. Yes. Can you point out a single prominent imam that we've all heard of or seen that is actually skeptical about the government position on the vacation?
I know one.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's publicly vocal about it.
Publicly.
Okay, good.
Sheikh Abu Toba.
Okay, all right.
And he gives the whole thing that work. He gives the whole thing that work. Yeah.
MashaAllah. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. What about you, Voice of Jah?
No, I think there a lot. So what I see happening with a lot of our imams is a lot of our imams do not want to step into situations that they don't know a lot about. And so as a result, they are left at the mercy of individuals providing them advice. And so if the imam or the scholar or the sheikh goes to someone who says, hey, listen, what is the understanding, this, that, then it's hard for me to fault our imams if they're coming from that point of view, which is why I told you that I think the two should not be conflated. The issue of the vacation and the issue of Maulid and supporting the, supporting a lot of these liberal blah, blah, blah. That I think is a little is different from them seeming to be in a situation where they're like, hey, listen, I don't know much about this vacation. I'm gonna go based on whatever advice you all provide for me. And so the advice can only be taken from the evidence. So we have to put the evidence forward and weigh the evidences. That's what we have to do. And so I'm saying to the reactionary, let's weigh the evidences and then make our decision based on weighing the evidence.
Sister Tika, for your super ticker, may Allah multiply it for you 1,000-fold and give you gentle for those and bless you and your family. Long-time supporter of the channel, Sister Tika, and continue, brother, voice of Jah.
Yeah, no. So I think that's where the matter comes down to. It comes down to us looking at the evidence that is in front of us and being skeptical, because this is from our teaching, is when somebody brings an information to you, what you have to verify it. You have to check it out. You have to analyze. Okay, man, what's going on? How did this get there? What do they mean by this? What do they mean by that? How did we get to that? How did we get to this? So this that we're doing, and this is why I said to Brother Bilal, healthy skepticism is good. I don't think anyone, and this is what I think is unfortunately also happening with this whole situation, is that even healthy skepticism is being shot down. Yeah. But the reason why healthy skepticism is being shut down is because we are allowing it to get hijacked by people who are telling us, this mask, if you put it over your face, it won't allow you to breathe, you won't get oxygen. The person who's operating, the person who does the operation, sorry, Nancy?
I agree with you 100% with that.
So the person who does the operation, like if you go to the operating room, everybody has masks on. They do 5-hour, 6-hour surgeries with masks on, and no one is concerned that surgeon is gonna collapse while opening their intestine. No one is concerned. But now we're being told if you put it on, you walk outside, you'll collapse, you won't get any oxygen. And Muslims are promoting this. So now if I hear Muslims promoting this, should I now also equally take whatever else they're saying about the vacation? I'm not gonna, it's very hard for me to listen to them say both, because I'm saying, how are you analyzing the evidences that you come to this viewpoint with the mask and then come to this viewpoint with the vacation? It's very hard for me. So that's where my issue is. It is being hijacked with people who are not even concerned about evidence. As far as they're concerned, this whole thing is nothing like it exists, or so on and so forth. That's my point.
Yeah, that is a major problem, what you just said right there. Because now what that does is when people who are trying to look at they're trying to bring a logical argument to the people, you understand? And our voices are getting drowned out by people who are anti-maskers, alt-righters, white supremacists, these type of people who are in the forefront, making a political issue out of a 99-cent mask. It's ridiculous, right? So now we can't even speak, right? It's crazy.
And so, Brother Bilal, that goes to the point that Brother Reactionary is asking in terms of saying, have you heard any imam that comes out? It's hard to come out with skepticism because you are automatically labeled in one particular, you're lumped with everyone. That's where the issue is. And that's why I say, and Brother Bilal will tell you, I'm always, if he says something I disagree with, I'll tell him, disagree with that part. But I like that you have healthy skepticism. I kind of like that. I've always appreciated it.
I personally, I don't care if people disagree with me. We can disagree. In Islam, it's permissible to disagree. But what's not permissible is to cut each other off and hate each other. And there's no problem having even arguments. You can have arguments. You can have even bad arguments, right? But we shouldn't be insulting each other and putting each other down. We shouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? And we definitely shouldn't be speaking without firm knowledge. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody ever in the history of historydom died from putting a mask on their face, a surgical mask. Where are all these people dropping dead from putting on these masks? So now when we say, look, man, this is our concerns about the vacation, people look at us like these anti-maskers, right? And that's the issue. And when you're saying about the imams now, it all goes back to the language that they're using. That's the problem. Why are you, if you believe what the doctors are telling you, it's okay to advise the people to take the vacation if you want to do that, but you're not saying that. You're saying it's the religious duty, right? That's what you're saying.
Right. That I think. Yeah, I agree with you. That's when it gets pretty muddy.
Go ahead.
Let me say something. So I like what you're both saying in your last two, in your last statements. So this is good. But what I'd like to say quickly is that Dr. Fauci himself said that masks are not effective in preventing transmission or even getting the reception of this disease. And he also pointed out that there's a video of him. You can search it.
When?
Before before this lockdown.
Do you know that initially, in the beginning part, we were telling people not to use particular masks, and then it changed?
Yeah.
So is it uncommon for people's opinion to change?
No, he didn't change his opinion. He explained why masks are not effective. So
you're saying his most recent viewpoint, Dr. Fauci, because I think this is also the issue we got to be very, very careful with. You're saying the most recent viewpoint of Dr. Fauci is that masks are ineffective. His most recent.
I'm talking about his personal opinion. I'm not talking about the opinion of the head of the CDC. Right. So it depends in the context of his interview. If he's answering questions in his role as the head of the CDC, then he's going to give a certain answer. If he's answering his personal opinion, it's that they're not effective. So this is the interview I was referring to, where he was giving his personal view on the masks. He said these are not effective. Now,
so now why I say that is important is because what you're presenting is one side. This was early. Persons were not aware of how it was being transmitted, what was going on. So early he said that. However, in his most recent, what he's saying is that we were not aware. This is his words. We were not aware that 40 to 45% of people were asymptomatic, nor were we aware that a substantial proportion of people who get infected from people who are without symptoms. That makes it overwhelmingly important for everyone to wear a mask. That's what I mean when I say we have to be balanced. This was his viewpoint earlier, but he changed it.
I'm talking about his personal opinion versus the opinion of the whole.
Oh, so you are saying, you're arguing something different. You're saying what he says to the public is different from what he thinks individually.
So in his personal interview, he gave his opinion on are masks effective. If he's issuing a statement when you hold a position in a company, when you speak, you're speaking as a representative of that company. It may not be what you particularly believe. Your personal views may be different. Okay. So
what I'm saying to you, brother reactionary, and this is a crucial point for you to understand, is that he was asked this publicly. He was asked, have you changed your viewpoint? And his answer was yes. And they asked him, why did you change your stance? And he says, because now what we know is different from what we knew back then. So I'm saying that's not true. What you're saying about him saying the masks are not effective, we can't just allow that to go. We can say that he changed his opinion. Secondly, I don't know why it is that we have elevated this individual who is just an individual who is flawed. And so if he says something, because now you're saying he says the mask is not effective. Now, when I
mentioned Dr. Fauci, because he's not somebody that I take as special, right? He's
so then why would you quote
the pro vacationist support, right? That's why I mentioned his name.
Okay, well, you see where we disagree with that there? I don't value a lot of,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough. But what that proves is that there are differences of opinion, even when it comes to
Thank you. So now you realize that does exist. Differences of opinion does exist.
If there are differences of opinion, if there are differences of opinion, then how is it possible that we're forced to wear masks? Right? There's no choice. You're not allowed to enter a store. You're not allowed to get on an airplane. You're not allowed to do this, that, or the other without wearing a mask.
That's a good question. So the question,
and secondly, just before we get to your answer, we have the issue of every time a particular group of people come to power, they try to, one thing that's common amongst these people in power, they try to take away individuals' freedoms. We saw that with the war on terror, where with the Patriot Act and eliminating people's rights, and we see it now, where all of the world's freedoms are being decimated and destroyed. You have no right to do anything. Your freedoms have been taken away, and it's always done with the excuse of unprecedented situations require unprecedented responses. But it's always a war against people's freedom. Now, give people a choice, give them the information they need to make the right decision, but don't force them and take away their freedoms. This is
okay. Good. So now we get.
This led me to my final quick point. My final quick point. Very sorry about this. I understood from our respected brother, the Feachaz, when he referenced the South Asian, particularly the South Asian, but it's not just the South Asian, but it's really third world immigrant Muslim Imams.
Yes.
Their position, no matter whether it's the war on terror or the war on the vacation, no, not the vacation, the coffee, CoCo,
right,
is always to take the side of the people of power. Yeah, okay. They were the first ones throwing Muslims under the bus, saying, Muslims are terrorists, Muslims are terrorists, Muslims are extremists. Yeah. We're not. We're good Muslims. They're bad Muslims. And then you've got now these people saying, we're all against the CoCo. You have to take the vacation. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to get.
So these are three matters. So the first matter, as it relates to the mask. So if the belief from the medical community is that this infection is spread by contact droplets, meaning by droplets of somebody cough, sneeze, and stuff like that, then the aim of the medical of the public health actually doesn't look at your individual benefit, but rather the benefit of what? The entire society. I'll tell you something. Do you know that in the US, I think it's in most states, if not every single state, once you have delivered, you cannot leave that hospital without a baby car seat for your baby. How can they compel you, who just gave birth, who your wife just gave birth to your child, and they compel you to get a car seat? No, this is tyranny. But rather we say, no, this is for the benefit of the child. That's number one. So when you look at the mask's aim is not, forget your discomfort. Does it stop or does it at least limit? And then you're looking at mask on its own. What about 6 feet? Why did they say 6 feet? Why didn't they say 10 feet? Why didn't they say 12 feet? Why didn't they say 2 feet? Because at the time, the evidence suggests that the droplet travels as far as 6 feet. And if you stay that distance, your chance of getting it is less. So they put it together. They said, do the mask and do 6 feet. But now, if we are arguing that not only do we not want we don't want the vacation, we don't want the mask, we don't want the 6 feet. Do we want the washing of the hands? What are we doing then? Are we trying to take any precaution or no precaution? So that's my answer to that. That's why the mask, compelling the mask, think about it. What is it going to do to your body? It's a mask over your face. And if you're arguing that, oh, no, don't compel the mask, and then say don't compel the vacation, now you're conflating two different things, and I can't see where you're going to go with that. That's the mask. The second issue you looked at, okay.
Okay, I'll let you finish your point, and then we got to wrap it up, inshallah.
Okay, so what was the second issue, brother? I forgot. You said the matter of
freedom, I think it was.
Freedom. Okay, freedom. For you to say, when you make that freedom point, let me tell you, when you make that freedom point, what that tells me is, unfortunately, you're drank from the Kool-Aid. What does that mean? That's a fallacy. This idea of freedom, what are we talking about here? All right, we look at the history of the West, and you will know that there's a fallacy of freedom. We all know this. The fact that when you give birth, your child automatically gets labeled with a particular number. There are some shots that they recommend. They put some stuff on their eyes. They're this and that. What do we mean? The moment you're born into this kind of society, this entire construct, right, is not a construct that's built on you can do as you please. You can do as you please as long as it doesn't go against what they're saying to you. So the idea that now they're taking our freedoms and what do you know, you're driving your own car, and yet they can tell you that you have to make sure you got your fitness done at this time. You have to make sure that you don't drive with your license has to be updated every such and such time. It means you don't have the freedom. You have to follow them. So that's where I think that it becomes it's a conflation of a lot of issues. But that said, I still agree that when we want to compel people to take something where we're still waiting for data to emerge, compulsion becomes a really, really big step to take. Rather, what you should do, as we all agree here, is provide them with the information, strongly push them to take it. When you compel people and then things start happening, people go, look, you compel me and look what happened, look what happened, look what happened. So that part I can see to that point. I can concede that point. I'm not going to challenge that point. Lastly, as it relates to imams or imams that come from what you call it, immigrant community imams and so on. I look at it and I say, when we look at a lot of our communities, there's good and there is some harm that comes in some of these situations. A lot of these communities, the massages that were built and so on and so forth, and this, they did a lot of good. And so what we have to keep doing is highlighting the challenges or the issues that they have. And I'm not disagreeing with you on that point. I'm actually conceding that point to you, that they have to become more analytical and look at the entire situation and not be so quick to jump on whatever bandwagon, so as long as it fits the entire narrative. So that point I agree with you, but the first 2 points, I can't.
Okay. All right, guys. So basically, I'm gonna say the final word there. I'm gonna thank the brothers for hopping on this live. Jazakallah khair. It was a very good discussion, very good discourse between the both of you. Jazakallah khair. And for me now, I will say that with the Eastern Imams and the way that they always position themselves in favor of liberal politics, that is a major problem. Right up to the point of inviting them to Mawlid celebrations, but inviting politicians to their masajid, letting them speak, all the way up until agreeing with any policy that's put in front of them, including with the vacations. And it's not only just they're not recommending the people or the Muslims to take the vacation. They're compelling them. You feel me? And making it a religious duty. That's a major problem, right? And that was my whole point, right? Are we together on that or what?
I think if that's the point, then that's a good way to wrap it all up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jazakallah khair, guys. All right.
It was a good chat. Thanks for hosting.
Brother Reactionary, it was very nice meeting you, brother.
Yes, brother. Big up to you.
Allah make it easy for all of us.
I mean,
Jazakallah khair.
Okay. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka.